A few years ago, I remember staring at my bank account, refreshing it like something would magically change. It didn't. The number just sat there, low, almost mocking me. I wasn't lazy. I wasn't reckless. I was doing what everyone said you're supposed to do: go to school, work hard, save what you can. But no matter how disciplined I tried to be, I always felt stuck in the same place. And the worst part, there were people starting from the same point, or even worse, somehow building real wealth. Not luck, not overnight success. Something else was at play, so I started asking a different question, not how do I make more money, but what are these people doing differently that I'm not even seeing? Because clearly there were patterns, invisible ones, patterns in how they thought, patterns in how they earned, patterns in how they moved money. And once I started noticing them, something shifted. It wasn't about grinding harder. It wasn't about saving more. It was about understanding the system they were playing, a system most people don't even realize exists. So in this video, I'm gonna break down the exact proven wealth patterns that allow someone to go from nothing to building real, sustainable wealth. And if you stay till the end, you'll start to see money very differently. Because once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. And here's the strange part most people miss. It's not that wealth is hidden, it's that it's patterned. Once you step back, you realize money doesn't move randomly. It follows repeatable behaviors, almost like code running in the background of society. And the people who become rich aren't necessarily smarter. They're just better at recognizing those patterns early enough to act on them. Let me give you a simple example. Two people can earn the same amount of money, same job, same environment, same starting point. But after a few years, one is still living paycheck to paycheck, while the other has investments, assets, and options. What changed? Not income alone. It's what they did with the income. One person participates in wealth patterns unconsciously. The other builds them intentionally. So in this breakdown, I'm going to walk you through the exact wealth patterns that show up repeatedly across self-made wealthy people. Not theory, not motivation, actual behavioral structures. And once you understand them, you'll start noticing something uncomfortable. You may have been working hard, but outside the pattern entirely. So let's start with the first and most important wealth pattern. Pattern 1, leveraged income. Most people trade time for money. That sounds normal, until you realize it is the slowest possible way to build wealth. Because time is fixed. There are only 24 hours in a day. So your income has a ceiling if it depends directly on your effort. But wealthy people operate differently. They look for leverage. Leverage means, how can I make one unit of effort produce multiple units of return? There are three main forms of leverage: people leverage, other humans working with or for you; capital leverage, money making more money; digital leverage, content, systems, software working for you. And here's where the pattern becomes obvious. Most wealthy individuals are not earning linearly. They are earning exponentially through at least one form of leverage. Think about a simple contrast. Someone working a job, works 8 to 10 hours, gets paid once, stops earning when they stop working. Now compare that to someone building a system, creates once, earns repeatedly, income continues without presence. Same effort, level at the start, completely different outcome over time. And this is where most people misunderstand wealth. They think wealth is about working harder, but in reality, wealth is about detaching income from direct time input. Once you see this, the entire game changes, because now the question is no longer, how do I get more hours? It becomes, how do I convert my effort into something that scales without me? That shift alone is one of the strongest predictors of financial change, but leverage alone is not enough, because even leveraged income can be wasted if the next pattern is missing. Pattern 2, capital retention. Here's something that sounds simple but changes everything. Wealth is not just about making money, it's about keeping money long enough for it to grow. Most people never reach this stage because every increase in income gets matched by an increase in lifestyle. More money comes in, more expenses go out. So the net result is always the same, zero accumulation. But wealthy people follow a different pattern entirely. They don't just earn, they retain, and retention creates compounding. Think of money like water in a container. If there's a leak at the bottom, it doesn't matter how much you pour in, it will always reset. So the first goal is not make more, it is stop unnecessary leaks. These leaks usually show up as emotional spending, lifestyle inflation, poor financial decisions made for short-term comfort. And here's the subtle part. Most of these decisions don't feel wrong in the moment. They feel justified, but over time, they break accumulation. Now contrast that with the wealth builders. They treat money differently. They assign purpose to every unit of income. This portion grows. This portion protects. This portion is used intentionally. Nothing is random. So instead of money disappearing, it begins to stack. And stacking is what eventually creates visible wealth. Because wealth is not sudden, it is accumulated restraint over time. And once enough restraint builds up, it turns into momentum, which leads directly into the next pattern. Pattern 3, compounding systems. Compounding is where wealth stops being linear entirely. And this is where most people underestimate the system, because compounding is not just about money. It applies to skills, decisions, relationships, income streams, and systems. But let's focus on money. Compounding works when returns generate more returns. So instead of income being work to payment to stop, it becomes work to asset, to repeated returns, to reinvestment, to scaling returns. The key difference is what happens after the first result. Most people stop. Wealth builders recycle. They take what works and multiply it. This is why early decisions matter so much, because compounding rewards consistency, not intensity. A small advantage repeated over time becomes dominant. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people are not poor because they don't have opportunities. They are poor because they reset their progress too often. They start, stop, restart, never allowing anything to compound. But when you look at wealth patterns, you see repetition everywhere. Same habits, same strategies, same systems, just refined over time. So compounding is not magic. It is repetition with direction. And once direction is aligned with leverage and retention, wealth becomes almost inevitable. Not fast, but predictable. And that brings us to the final pattern. Pattern 4, system thinking. This is the highest level shift, because everything before this still depends on action. But system thinking changes the game entirely. Instead of asking, what do I do to make money? You start asking, what structure produces money repeatedly? Systems remove emotional decision making. They replace effort spikes with automated consistency. And this is what separates workers from wealth builders. Workers act. Wealth builders design. A system might be a skill that generates freelance income, a content loop that produces attention and monetization, an investment structure that compounds over time, or a business process that scales beyond the individual. The form doesn't matter. The principle does. If it requires constant effort to restart, it is not a system. If it continues producing without constant input, it is. And when you combine systems with leverage, retention, and compounding, you stop relying on daily effort for survival. You begin building structures that sustain you. That is the real wealth shift, not income, not even money itself, but the ability to design outcomes instead of chasing them. So if we bring everything together, wealth is not random. It follows patterns, leverage removes time limits, retention preserves capital, compounding multiplies results, systems sustain everything. And when you understand all four, money stops feeling unpredictable, it starts feeling structured. And once you see the structure, your decisions change automatically. Because now you're not just trying to earn, you're trying to align with how wealth actually forms. So the real question is no longer, how do I become rich? It becomes, which of these patterns am I currently missing? Because Fixing even one of them can change your entire trajectory. But combining them, that's where wealth stops being an idea and starts becoming a system you live inside. If you found this useful and you're starting to see that making money isn't random, that there are actual patterns behind who builds wealth and who stays stuck, then subscribe, because this is just one piece of the system. There are deeper patterns most people never notice, hidden ways people generate income quietly, and mistakes that keep repeating across millions of people without them realizing it. We're going to break all of that down, step by step, because once you truly understand how wealth is built, you don't just earn money, you start seeing opportunities everywhere, and the difference between staying where you are and building real financial freedom gets a lot smaller than you think.